special remarks. Let's welcome the Honorable Alan Peter Cayetano.
If you make a sale to your neighbor or buy from a neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. This is found in the book of Leviticus 25:14 of the Holy Bible. Mr. Vincent Law, Chairman of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council and Mission Leader. Mr. Jonathan Choi, Chairman of the Sunwa Group and Co-Mission Leader. Delegates and friends from different industry sectors in Hong Kong, colleagues in government, ladies and gentlemen, neighbors, brothers and sisters, let me thank Mr. Raymond Yip, Deputy Executive Director of Hong Kong Trade Development Council, for the invitation to speak at this luncheon. It's an honor for me to join the Council in your seminar with the theme, Hong Kong and Shanghai, your preferred investment partner. So in greeting you a good afternoon, let's make it happen. Let's make Shanghai and Hong Kong our preferred investment partner. On behalf of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, we welcome you to the Philippines. Also, in behalf of my boss, the Mayor of Taguig, my wife, Mayor Lani, we welcome you to the city of Taguig. And I believe it's your second time to the city. Thank you for making this the venue of important gatherings. A former quiet municipality with vast rice lands, Taguig was then known as both a coastal and agricultural town, a fishing village. This began to change when the national government awarded a few hundred hectares of the former military base Fort Bonifacio, which used to be Fort McKinley, then collectively called Fort Bonifacio, which opened many doors of opportunity to our people. Today, the Bonifacio Global City of Taguig is considered one of the most in-demand areas for business in the Philippines, aspiring to be the country's version of Hong Kong and Shanghai, respectively. Investors, embassies, academic institutions, and government agencies alike are now transferring to our city. And as you know, the Philippine Stock Exchange now calls the Bonifacio Global City Taguig their home. This is true with the beautiful and progressive city of Davao. This is true with the soon-to-be new Clark City. As President Duterte moves to protect all inhabitants of the Philippines, Filipinos and foreigners alike, he also works to develop the whole of the Philippines, or the 7,107 islands, and not just Metro Manila. And as we welcome the Council and its delegation, we equally invite you to look into the entire Philippines as a partner for investment. The Bible passage is the testament that there can be no wrong in an economic transaction between friends and neighbors. Regardless of our culture, regardless of our history, regardless of our religion, when neighbors do good deeds, investments, borrow money, lend money, invest in each other, it is a good thing. And the people of Hong Kong and China are not strangers to the Filipino people. And vice versa, we are close neighbors and longtime friends. The first known official linkage can be traced back to the 15th century, and I'm sure my classmate and good friend, like my brother here, the Minister of Trade in the Autonomous Region, Isaac Mastura, knows that Sultan Paduka Batera of Sulu traveled to China to visit his friend, the Emperor Yongli of the Ming Dynasty. There is in fact a monument to the Sultan in Shandong province in China, and some of his descendants have met some of our people from Sulu and from Luzon in celebrating their anniversary last year. Of course, earlier than the official linkage of the Sultan and the Emperor, and throughout China's Song and Yuan dynasty, 960 to 1368, Chinese ships traded extensively with the Philippines, resulting in the establishment of permanent Chinese communities at a number of sites of the Philippines. So Chinese are not strangers, they're not only neighbors and good friends. The ethnic Chinese-Filipino community is part of all cities around the Philippines. Aside from the Sultan, ordinary people from China and the Philippines have been interacting with one another for the past few hundred years. The geographic proximity of our two nations make this an unavoidable and benign fact. For its part, Hong Kong SAR gave refuge to the Philippine revolutionaries who fought for and succeeded in attaining independence for the Filipino people. Our national flag, the very symbol of our country, was first hand-sewn in Hong Kong by the family of one of such Filipino revolutionaries who sought refuge in Hong Kong. No less than our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, made Hong Kong his home, where he practiced ophthalmology profession and made very good friends. Indeed, our people are natural good neighbors and close friends. Our people and cultures are intertwined by friendship, blood, and history. Today, over 218,000 Filipinos call Hong Kong their home. In the last trip to Buao, President Duterte and President Xi witnessed the signing of an agreement for 2,000 English teachers to enter China for the first time. In Hong Kong, we have musicians, architects, engineers, business executives, IT professionals, managers, and domestic workers. I'm proud that they keep Hong Kong's economy vibrant by contributing, by providing essential services and skills to the industries and core competencies that Hong Kong is known for. And here in the Philippines, members of the Filipino-Chinese community, some of whom are here today or some of whom have seen the trade mission earlier today or yesterday, continue to significantly contribute to the development of the prosperity of the Philippines. Through the Hong Kong Trade and Development Council, the Philippines looks forward to greater economic development and investment in the government's priority projects. Last year, Hong Kong was the 5th among our trading partners, our 3rd largest export market and 12th largest supplier. It was among our biggest source of foreign investments, 15th in 2016. While total trade between the Philippines and Hong Kong in 2016 amounted to $9.1 billion US, it has risen to 11 billion in 2017. Also in 2017, the Philippine exports to Hong Kong grew by 30.6% from $6.2 billion US to $8.65 billion. But we are here not to listen to the opportunities or to the numbers, but really to find a way to connect. And although you have connected with our communities, your philanthropists, businessmen have always helped us during calamities, have helped the Filipino-Chinese community produce entrepreneurs, have given scholarships, we've done exchanges, whether cultural or through sports. The reality is that there are intangibles that are essential in doing business. For example, the relationship of our country, the relationship of the Philippines and China. I know it is not much spoken of, but really, business is about confidence, about mutual trust, about respect. And when your countries are working together and have that mutual respect, the business will flow and follow. The same thing with Hong Kong SAR. We have had a long and good relationship, but there have been, valleys, but there have also been peaks in our relationship. And I believe the momentum is very good, especially with the last visit of President Duterte to Hong Kong. Another intangible that is essential, of course, is the protection of your investment. All around the world, there are legal rules, there are laws, but we know that the key is how these laws are implemented. That's where arbitration has become a preferred way, in settling disputes in business, because foreign companies doing business in your country can put an arbitration clause and say, if we have a dispute, it will be settled in arbitration in Singapore or in Hong Kong or in Shanghai. And this assures you that change of administrations, change in the leaders will not affect your contract. There is a deterrent from people or from a different administration tearing up contracts, because you can always have a legal remedy. But we also know that there are some levels of mechanisms that are not really, because when you go to court, you already have a problem. When you have to go to arbitration, you already have a problem. So good doctors are like good lawyers and vice versa. The best lawyers will prevent you from having a case, while the best doctors will prevent you from getting sick, rather than trying to cure. So in the same way, many are concerned with the 60-40 limitations in certain industries in the Philippines. Not because you're not willing to take a lower cut. I was amazed on the personality, the vision, and how warm Mr. Jackma was when we visited his hometown in Hangzhou. And he said when he makes investments in other countries, he doesn't ask for the majority, because he wants to share his vision. But his, innovative and revolutionary areas of business, allow that to happen even if you do not have the majority stake. But in certain businesses, of course, it's always safer for businessmen to have at least 50% plus one, or 51% to some. Or like in our laws, as Isaac and I learned together in law school, there are certain things where you need 2/3 of the stockholders or shareholders to do something for these corporations. So these are the things that we have to work on together. Of course, things that have constitutional limitations we cannot change unless we change our constitution. But if the Japanese and our Southeast Asian neighbors and brothers and sisters have learned, how to put in mechanisms, legal mechanisms that are allowed by our Securities and Exchange Commission and allowed by our court, for you to still maintain certain degree, of leadership in the management of the companies. If they have learned, why can't we learn to do it together also in the meantime? But of course, we're here to listen. We're here to also make the changes necessary to be competitive, not only in Southeast Asia, not only Asia, but in the whole world. There are many more intangibles that I will not talk about, but let me just cap off the intangible, which is the relationship between Philippines and China. I get that question very often. For example, from operators of tourism business. Because the Chinese tourism went up from about 500,000 to almost 1 million in the first year of President Duterte. And this year, despite the 6 months closure of Boracay, the Chinese are targeting 1.5 to 2 million tourists. So of course, if you're going to put up a hotel, it'll take a year or 2 or 3. And you want to make sure that after 2022, after President Duterte, the tourists will continue to come. Because if not, then your hotel will be too big, too much an investment, and you won't be able to pay money that you borrowed, right? So, it's sometimes the chicken or the egg. Do we ensure first that our relationship beyond 2022 is good? Or do we build the momentum now so that whoever is leader of both countries in 2022 will continue the good relationship of the Filipino people and the Chinese people? So as investors, on one hand you're thinking, how long will this good relationship last? So should I invest this much or that much? But on the other hand, you're also investing in the relationship. The more you put your investments here and the more we partner, the more we assure very good relationship in the future. So you are not only doing a business act, you are doing a patriotic act for Hong Kong SAR, for Shanghai, for China, and for the Philippines. We ensure that our own business environment truly welcomes business activity, from repealing laws and regulations that impose restriction on foreign participation in economic activities, to opening up certain industries to be more competitive and and provide what foreign investors need. All this alongside with the anti-corruption efforts of the administration comprise a big part of our reforms. In fact, the President has been giving out the number of some of his top aides, including as Special Assistant to the President Bongo, and has been telling the foreign investors, you call me directly if there's any hindrance, red tape, and especially corruption, no, before you can enter the Philippine market. And he has said, I will guarantee not your profits, because that's for you to work out, but he will guarantee that you will be treated fairly and that your profits can freely flow, whether reinvestment in the Philippines or to be brought back to your headquarters. And now let me tell you all at this time that it is the best time to invest in your friend, in your neighbor, in your brother, the Philippines. We are ready for you. Make this your second home. DFA, the Department of Foreign Affairs, will continue building bridges of friendship, cooperation, and partnership. In light of building bridges, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council is most welcome to open a resident overseas office in the Philippines, in any city in the Philippines. Once again, thank you for the invitation. I wish everyone a productive mission in the Philippines. And as we say in the Philippines, mabuhay or long live. God bless you all.